Patrice Odom sees it first. She's on her porch with her coffee at 6:15 in the morning, and the man in the driveway next door hasn't moved in 20 minutes. Engine off. Hands at 10 and 2. Face like something poured into a mold and left to set. She watches him the way you watch a dog that's gone very still. Not because it's calm, but because something inside it has made a decision. She almost goes over, sets her mug down, takes 2 steps toward the railing. Then she stops. There's something about the stillness that tells her this isn't her moment to interrupt. Whatever is happening inside that car has already happened. She picks her mug back up and watches him sit there until Vivian's SUV pulls into the driveway at 6:18 and the man inside the car still doesn't move. That's when Patrice goes inside and locks her door. My name is Declan Rourke. I'm 41 years old. I run supply chain logistics for a mid-size industrial distributor, which means I spend my professional life tracking the movement of things, where they are, where they're going, how much time has elapsed between those 2 points, and what the variance costs. I am very good at this. I am, by any professional metric, exceptional at this. The photo arrived at 11:47 p.m. the night before. Vivian asleep on Calder Briggs's shoulder, his arm around her, her hair across his chest. The caption, "She's mine now. You should know." I read it once. Set the phone face down on the desk. Opened my laptop. Here's the thing about working in logistics for 17 years. You develop a specific relationship with information. You don't react to data. You process it. You determine what it means for the system. You identify the failure point, and you begin the corrective sequence. Emotion is a variable you account for, not a state you inhabit. I had 41 entries in the Callaway file by midnight. I'd started the file in March. The envelope was already printed when Vivian's SUV pulled into the driveway. I'd been sitting in my car because the house felt like a place that belonged to a different version of my life, and I wasn't ready to walk back into it. Not out of grief, out of sequence management. I needed the next 12 hours to run in the right order, and walking into the kitchen while Vivian was awake would have broken the sequence. So I sat, and I waited, and I watched her lights go on upstairs. Then I went inside. She drops her bag on the kitchen floor without looking at me. She's still in the clothes from the night before. A cream blouse, dark jeans, the kind of dressed-up casual. That means she wasn't at a spa. She moves to the refrigerator, opens it, stares into it like she's reading a document. "Don't start," she says. I cross the kitchen, set the envelope on the counter between us. Step back. "Already finished," I say. She turns, looks at the envelope, looks at me. Her hand goes to her earring, adjusts it once, then again. Then she picks up the envelope. The paper is heavy cream stock, slightly waxy against the fingertips. I'd chosen it deliberately. Some things should feel like what they are. She reads 2 pages, then she throws it. The envelope hits the cabinet above the sink, and the papers scatter across the counter and the floor, some of them landing in the ceramic bowl, where we keep the car keys. The bowl rocks, tips, shatters on the tile. Marin appears at the top of the stairs, 9 years old in her pajamas, with the small horses on them, eyes wide and very careful. "Go back to your room, sweetheart," I say, quietly. "I'll come up in 10 minutes. She looks at me for 3 seconds, those sharp, watching eyes that I have loved since the day she was born. Then she turns and goes. Vivian's voice has found its pitch. "You had this ready before I walked in the door." "I had it ready when the photo arrived." "That was last night." "You've been planning this." I don't answer that. She knows the answer. She's known for longer than she's admitting. She sweeps a wine glass off the counter. It doesn't shatter. It bounces off the cabinet and lands intact on the floor, which seems to frustrate her more than breaking it would have. Her hands are shaking. I notice this the way I'd notice a pressure gauge reading in the red. With attention, without alarm. "You want me to scream," I say. "I'm not going to do that." "You put papers on my counter like like this is a business transaction." She stops. The silence between us has a specific texture, like the air before a transformer blows. I've been in that silence for 37 months. I'm used to it. You want to know what this is? I say. It's the end of a resource allocation I should have corrected a long time ago. That's all it is. She picks up the papers from the floor, reads the third page. Her face does something complicated, not grief, not guilt, but the specific expression of someone who has just discovered the game was already over when they thought it was beginning. You can't just, she starts. Go to bed, Vivian. I go upstairs. I read 2 chapters of Marin's book with her. A story about a girl who finds a door in the back of her closet that leads somewhere better. I tuck Cole in. He takes my hand and holds it for a moment without saying anything. 7 years old, and already he knows when to be quiet. I squeeze once and go. Then I go to the office, close the door, and call Nolan Pruitt. He picks up on the second ring. I need documentation, I say. A timeline. Whatever you can find that I don't already have. 3 seconds of silence. Not surprise. Orientation. I'll be there at 9. I hang up. Open the Callaway file. 41 entries, 7 months of receipts, GPS pings, and time-stamped texts. I'd built the first draft in March. I stopped loving Vivian 37 months ago. I know the exact date, the way I know the date a vendor contract expires. Because I tracked it. What she's stolen from me isn't my heart. It's my time. And time has a dollar value I can calculate to 4 decimal places. I open a new tab, title it Sequence. I start building the order of operations. Pruitt arrives at 9 with a recorder, a laptop, and an NDA that he slides across the desk without comment. We've worked together before. Vendor embezzlement case 3 years ago. A ghost account scheme that cost my company $400,000 before I found the pattern. Pruitt had made it court admissible. That's what I need now. He opens his laptop. I hand him the Callaway file on a USB drive. He scrolls for 90 seconds, doesn't speak. Then, you've already done most of it. I know. I need you to make it court admissible. He nods once. What's the scope? Everything. Financial, geographic, communications. I want a timeline with sources attached to every entry. I want it clean enough that a judge reads it once and doesn't need to ask a follow-up question. Pruitt clicks through the tabs. He's a compact man, 52, with the particular stillness of someone who has spent 20 years watching other people's worst moments without absorbing them. He asks 0 personal questions. It's what I like about him. 14 months, he says. That's a long tail. 41 documented contacts. He pulls up a tab I haven't seen, sets the laptop to face me. I found this 3 days ago, he says. Was going to call you regardless. It's a lab report, sealed, dated 14 months ago. A DNA paternity test, paid for in cash. $340, according to the receipt Pruitt has attached as a source document. The results are clear. Marin and Cole are Calder-Briggs's biological children. I read the file, 4 seconds, set it aside. My hand is flat on the desk, perfectly still. Add it to the custody petition, I say. Flag it as Exhibit C. Pruitt looks at me for a moment. He's trying to read whether I knew. I didn't. But I also, and this is the part I can't fully explain, I'm not surprised. Some part of me that runs below conscious thought has been accounting for this possibility for a long time. The math always pointed here. I just hadn't run the full calculation. I stopped loving Vivian 37 months ago. What I feel right now looking at that lab report is not grief for myself. It's something harder and quieter. The specific weight of understanding that the children I have read to sleep every night for 9 years and 7 years are not biologically mine, and that the woman who knew this paid $340 in cash to make sure I never found out. I feel my jaw tighten. That's all. Exhibit C, I say again. Make sure it's properly authenticated. Pruitt nods and turns back to his laptop. I spend the next 4 hours building the full timeline using the same methodology I use for vendor mapping. Every contact between Vivian and Calder gets a node. Every node gets sources attached, receipts, GPS data, phone records. The dependencies map themselves once you have enough nodes. What emerges is a 14-month pattern with 41 documented contacts, 3 of which were covered by alibi texts routed through a third party. I pull up the texts, read the sender's name, Ainsley Dowd, Vivian's best friend, event planner, always laughing before the punchline, always with a glass of something in her hand, always with that particular smile that I now understand was the smile of someone who knew something you didn't. The Callaway file has 7 tabs now. I call Ainsley at 2 in the afternoon. She answers on the 4th ring. Her voice is bright, careful. The voice of someone who has been waiting for a call they hoped wouldn't come. Declan, hi. August 14th, I say. You texted Vivian at 9:12 p.m. Tell him you're with me at the Harlow. I'll cover if he calls. September 2nd, 11:40 p.m. Already told Brendan you're at mine. Don't worry. October 19th. Declan. Her voice has changed. The brightness is gone like a lamp on a dimmer being turned down. I can't. She's my best friend. I didn't think. You provided material cover for 14 months, I say. I'm not asking you to explain it. I'm telling you it's documented. Dates, times, exact wording. I have 3 of your texts in the court file as evidence of a coordinated cover. She refills something. I hear the sound of liquid, a glass. She doesn't say anything. I forwarded those 3 texts to Brendan this morning, I say, with one line, you deserve to know what your household was used for. The sound she makes isn't a word. I'm logging this call as closed, I say. I don't need anything from you. I end the call. Set the phone down. I sit for 11 seconds. I know Ainsley's marriage won't survive this. I knew it before I hit send on the forwarded texts. I knew it when I was deciding whether to send them. I did it anyway. Not because Ainsley was my target, but because Brendan Dowd is a man who spent 14 months being lied to inside his own house. And he had the right to know. I open the Callaway notes. Type 1 line. Ainsley, collateral, not target, acceptable. I stare at the word acceptable for a long moment. It's the right word. It's also a word that tells me something about who I've become in the last 18 hours. I'm not sure those are different things. I close the tab. Pruitt delivers the completed evidence package to Hargrove and Associates at 4:30. Lena Hargrove is 45, precise, with the particular efficiency of someone who charges $400 an hour and intends to earn every cent of it. She reviews the package at her desk while I sit across from her, the floor-to-ceiling glass behind her showing the city 14 floors down. The DNA exhibit, she says without looking up. Is this authenticated? Lab-certified copy. Pruitt has the chain of custody documentation. She reads for another 2 minutes. Then, she sets the folder down and looks at me directly. The custody petition citing this DNA evidence is the strongest I've seen in 11 years. How long does it take? If she contests it, 6 months. If the DNA stands, and it will, she won't. I nod. Pruitt is packing his laptop across the room. He pauses, almost as an afterthought. My nephew used singletune.com after his divorce last year. Values test before you see a single profile. He said it was the first honest thing he'd done in years. He shrugs. Not relevant now. Just, it exists. I half hear it. I'm looking at the city through the glass, 14 floors down, thinking about sequencing. But the name lands somewhere. That evening, Lena asks me if there's anything else I want to add to the filing before she submits. I think about it for exactly 3 seconds. One more thing, I say. The ethics report. She raises an eyebrow. Calder Briggs is a licensed senior engineer at Vantage Systems, I say. He sent the taunt text from his personal phone at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. His name, his number, his words. I want a clean copy of that text attached to an ethics report, formatted for Vantage Systems HR, for the State Engineering Licensing Board, and for the Callaway Heights Neighborhood Forum. She looks at me. The Neighborhood Forum. It's a public platform. The information is factual. The conduct occurred in the neighborhood. She writes something down. I'll have drafts to you by morning. I go home. The house is quiet. Vivian is in the bedroom with the door closed. I can hear the television through the door, something with a laugh track, which strikes me as the wrong choice for the situation. I think, at least one of us is entertained. Then, I go to the office and close my door. The ethics report drafts arrive at 6:48 a.m. 7 pages. Time-stamped, source-cited, formatted for 3 separate submission portals. I read them once. Make 2 corrections. Save the final versions. I open 3 browser tabs. Vantage Systems HR Ethics Portal. State Engineering Licensing Board Submission Form. Callaway Heights Neighborhood Forum. Post creation set to public. My cursor hovers. I don't click yet. Not because I'm hesitating, because sequencing matters. Everything goes at once, or the nodes warn each other. A man with a supply chain background understands cascade timing. You don't trigger the first node until all 3 are loaded and ready to fire simultaneously. I check the timestamps on all 3 submissions. I set a scheduled send for 7:02 a.m. Then I make coffee and wait. At 7:02 a.m. Tuesday, 3 browser tabs execute simultaneously. I watch the confirmation screens load. HR portal, submission confirmed. Licensing board, reference number assigned. Neighborhood forum, post live. I take a sip of coffee. At 7:14 a.m., Dorothea Briggs reads the neighborhood forum post on her iPad at her kitchen table in the house 3 streets over from Callaway Drive, where she has lived for 31 years and where she raised Calder alone after his father left. She reads it before her son's alarm clock goes off. I know this because Pruitt, who I asked to be parked on Dorothea Street at 7 a.m. for reasons I hadn't fully articulated even to myself, watches her kitchen light come on and her silhouette go very still at the table. He texts me, "She's reading it." I text back, "Note the time." At 8:02 a.m., the Garrison Holt calls me. Garrison owns the Meridian. Leather stools, low lighting, the kind of bar where people say things they mean because the acoustics discourage performance. He's been a mutual friend for 6 years, which means he's been trying to occupy the space between Vivian and me with the careful footwork of a man who knows both sides of a story and has chosen not to know either. His voice is measured, careful. He's trying to stay neutral. "Declan," he says, "I saw the forum." "Okay. I want to understand what—" I read him Calder's text, word for word. "She's mine now. You should know." 8 seconds of silence. "Tell me what you need," Garrison says. "I need you to come to Hargrove and Associates at noon and sign a witness form. You've seen the text. You're confirming you saw it." "I'll be there." He is. He signs the form at 12:07 p.m., and he does not call Vivian afterward. I know because Pruitt checks. By 10 a.m., Vantage Systems has placed Calder Briggs on administrative leave pending review of the ethics complaint. The licensing board opens a formal inquiry. Pruitt texts me both confirmations within 4 minutes of each other. At 11:30 a.m., Dorothea Briggs parks in front of Calder's house. She doesn't go inside. She stands in the driveway, and Pruitt, parked 2 houses down, has his window down. Calder comes to the door. He's in yesterday's clothes. He looks like a man who has spent the morning watching his professional life disassemble in real time. Dorothea's voice carries. "I am mortified beyond repair," she says. "I will not be defending you to a single person. Not one." Calder says something. I don't have the audio, but Pruitt describes his posture as that of a man trying to explain something that cannot be explained. Dorothea holds up one hand. Palm out. The gesture of a retired school teacher who has spent 40 years stopping sentences mid-formation. Then she walks back to her car and drives away. Pruitt sends me the timestamp. 11:47 a.m. I'm in the elevator at my office building at 2:15 p.m. when the lobby security desk calls upstairs to tell me I have a visitor who is not on the approved list and is, in their words, becoming agitated. I come down. Vivian is in the lobby. She's been crying. Not the soft kind. The kind that comes from fury held too long in a body that wasn't built to contain it. She's in a gray blazer, her hair pulled back too tight, and she's pacing in a tight rectangle near the revolving door. When she sees me come off the elevator, she crosses the lobby in 8 steps and grabs my arm. I remove her hand from my sleeve, 1 finger at a time, then I step back. 3 of my colleagues are at the coffee station 12 feet away. They have gone very still. "You put his name on a public forum," she says. Her voice is at the pitch that makes the security desk look over. "His mother saw it." His employer received a factual report," I say. "His licensing board received the same. The forum received public information about a neighbor's conduct. All accurate, all sourced. You destroyed him. I documented him. There's a difference? Yes. One requires fabrication. I didn't need to fabricate anything. She shoves me. Both hands, center of the chest. Not hard enough to move me. Hard enough to be visible to everyone in the lobby. The security guard at the desk is already standing. One of my colleagues has their phone out. I don't move. Don't raise my hands. Don't change my expression. You want a reaction, I say, quietly enough that only she can hear it. I'm not going to give you one. The security guard arrives. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to... I'm leaving, Vivian says. She's looking at me. Her jaw's working. This isn't over. It was over at 11:47 p.m. last Thursday, I say. You just weren't informed of the schedule. She leaves. The revolving door catches her shoulder slightly on the way out, which is not something I arranged, but which I note with the dry, private recognition that the universe occasionally has a sense of timing. I ride the elevator back up. My hands are steady. That evening, I sit alone in the home office. The monitors are dark. The Callaway file is as complete as it needs to be for now, and there's nothing left to build tonight. I'm not working. I'm just sitting in the chair where I have spent a significant portion of the last 14 months building the case that is now in motion. I pick up my phone, find the singletune.com page, read the description. Before you see a single profile, we ask you who you are, what you believe, what you've been through, what you need from another person, before anything else. I sit with that for a moment. The concept has the quality of a correct answer you've arrived at before you write it down. Already true, just not yet committed to paper. I set the phone down. I'm not ready. I know I'm not ready. But something about the idea of being asked who you are before being shown who's available, something about that order of operations, feels right in the specific way that the right sequence always feels right. Not exciting, just correct. I close my eyes for a moment. Then Calder Briggs knocks on my front door. 2 pounds, hard. I hear it from the office. I go downstairs, open the door. He's in a jacket he hasn't buttoned right, one side higher than the other. He's been drinking. Not enough to slur. Enough to have made the decision to come here, which is the specific degree of drunk that produces the worst decisions. He looks at me. I look at him. Here's what I see. A man who sent a taunt text at midnight because he thought I was the kind of man who could be taunted. A man who thought she's mine now was a move. Who thought the right response to a situation like this was to announce it, like a flag planted on a hill. He has spent his entire adult life being the most confident person in any room he walked into, and that confidence has never once been tested by someone who was actually paying attention. He's being tested now. You want to talk about what you did to my career, he says. I want you off my porch in the next 4 seconds. I have a licensing inquiry. 3. You sent a report to my mother's neighborhood. 2. He looks at me. Something in his face shifts. Not anger. Something more uncomfortable than anger. The recognition that the man in front of him is counting down without raising his voice, and that the countdown will end exactly when he said it would. He leaves. I close the door. Go back to the office. Add a time-stamped note to the Callaway file. CB, front door, 9:03 p.m. Departed without incident. Documented. I knew he'd come. I knew the farmer's market was coming too. I'd already told Pruitt to be there Saturday morning. My phone rings at 10 p.m. Dorothea Briggs. I almost don't answer. She's not part of this, not really. She's a retired school teacher who raised a son who made choices she didn't make for him. She doesn't owe me anything, and I don't owe her anything. I answer. Her voice is steady. That surprises me. I want you to know I'm sorry, she says. Not on his behalf. On my own. I saw the forum post. I've spoken to Calder. I know what he did, the text, all of it, and I want you to know that I am sorry. I appreciate that, I say. Those children, she says. And then she stops. Starts again. I don't know how much you know, but those children, I've watched them grow up from next door. And whatever the biology says, I want you to know that the man who reads them to sleep every night is their father. That's what I believe. I'm quiet for a moment. Thank you, I say. She says one more thing before she hangs up. She says, Calder never knew how to be still. He always thought stillness was weakness. I tried to teach him otherwise. I failed. I sit with that for a long time after the call ends. It changes one calculation I thought was already closed. The calculation involves the Federal Contractor Registry. Pruitt had mentioned it 2 days ago, almost as an aside. A third escalation available beyond the HR complaint and the licensing inquiry. Filing Calder's conduct with a Federal Contractor Registry would permanently bar him from any government-adjacent engineering work. Not for a year, not pending review, permanently. Career death with no appeal mechanism. I'd been sitting with it, not deciding, sitting with it. There's a difference. After Dorothea's call, I know the answer. I go to the office, open the Callaway file, navigate to the tab I'd titled Escalation Options. My hand rests on the phone for 11 seconds. I count them. I know the difference between justice and obliteration. I know which one I've been doing, and I know which one I'm touching right now. I set the phone down. I type one line in the notes. Federal Registry, not taken. Noted. Then I close the laptop. Tuesday morning runs like a 4-continent supply chain cutover. 9 a.m. MCA divorce papers filed at the county clerk's office. 9:04 a.m. Custody petition with Exhibit C submitted to family court. 9:07 a.m. Ainsley Dowd's alibi roll, formally entered into the court record as evidence of coordinated deception. 9:15 a.m. The public ethics file confirmed live and indexed, with a note to the neighborhood forum moderator that the post is part of an active legal proceeding and should be preserved. 4 nodes, 15 minutes. No node had time to warn another. Lena Hargrove calls me at 9:22. Everything's in. Clock starts now. Good. I'm at my desk at the office. The fluorescent HR portal glow is reflected in the dark window behind my monitor. It's overcast outside, the kind of morning that turns glass into a mirror. I look at my own reflection for a moment. 41 years old, supply chain director, father of 2 children who are not biologically mine and whom I love, with the specific, unqualified ferocity of a man who chose them every single day regardless. I look like a man who has already won. The intermediary call comes at 11. Perry Ashford, a mutual colleague, mid-40s, the kind of man who volunteers for uncomfortable tasks because he thinks it makes him seem important. He calls my direct line. Declan, Calder asked me to reach out. He's asking whether there's any mechanism to withdraw the ethics report. He's willing to... There's no mechanism to withdraw a factual report, I say. Tell him to prepare his response to the board. He's saying if there's something you need, tell him to prepare his response to the board, Perry. Silence. Okay, Perry says. I hang up, log it. The Callaway file is now 32 pages across 8 tabs. It's the most complete document I've ever built on a subject that isn't freight routing. Garrison stops by the Meridian's back office that afternoon while I'm reviewing the civil filing documents. He brings 2 coffees and sets one in front of me without asking. He leans against the doorframe. You doing okay? He asks. Yes. He nods. He knows I mean it. Then, after a moment, I tried singletune.com about 6 months after Renata and I separated. 3 years ago now. I look up. The values assessment, he says. It asked me what I'd been through, what I believed, what I needed from another person before anything else. He picks up his coffee. It asked me what I'd learned from the worst thing that happened to me. I sat with that question for 2 days before I answered it. That's when I knew the app was serious. I look at him. What did you answer? He thinks about it. I said I learned that I'd been confusing availability with compatibility, that I'd been choosing people who were present instead of people who were aligned, and that the worst thing that happened to me was the best information I ever got about what I actually needed. I nod once. Not saying it's for now, Garrison says, just saying it exists for when now becomes later. I know, I say. He leaves me to the documents. I sit for a moment with his answer. The specific clarity of it, the way it describes the wrong calculation I'd been running for years before I knew I was running it. Availability versus compatibility. The distinction has the quality of something I already understood and had simply never put into words. I go back to the documents. The parking structure incident happens at 4:47 p.m. Pruitt is in his car on level 2 of the Vantage system structure, dash cam running, because I asked him to document Calder leaving after his administrative leave meeting. Calder exits the elevator at 4:44. He walks to his car. He sees my Audi parked 3 spaces down. I'd parked there deliberately, and yes, I understand what that says about me. And no, I don't entirely regret it. He looks at my car for 4 seconds. Then he gets in his car, backs out, and clips my rear quarter panel on the way past. Not a brush, a deliberate angle. The sound on the dash cam audio is a specific metallic crunch that Pruitt later describes as intentional and unhurried. Calder drives away without stopping. Pruitt has the plate, the timestamp, and 3 camera angles. The footage goes to Lena Hargrove's office by 6 p.m. She adds it to the civil filing as evidence of harassment. Calder's insurance pays $4,200 in damage. His rates spike. His license plate is now associated with a harassment filing in the public record. I look at my car when I get to the structure. The damage is real: crumpled metal, a broken taillight. I stand there for a moment, keys in hand. He thought that would hurt me. He thought property damage was a weapon. He's a man who responds to precision with aggression, because aggression is the only tool he has left. I take 3 photos for the insurance claim. Then I call the rental company. Vivian calls at 8:30 that evening. I'm in the home office. The monitors are on. I've been reviewing the custody petition language with Lena on email. I answer, "Declan." Her voice is fracturing at the edges, not grief. The specific sound of someone watching their leverage disappear in real time, like watching a hand of cards go from full to empty without being able to stop it. The custody petition with the DNA, yes, you can't, those are my children. They're my children, I say. I've been their father for 9 years and 7 years. The DNA determines biology. It doesn't determine what I've been. The court will see 41 documented contacts, a suppressed DNA test you paid $340 in cash to hide, and a custody petition supported by the strongest evidence package my attorney has seen in 11 years. That's what the court will see. She goes quiet. Then, what do you want? Tell me what you want and we can... I want the sequence to complete, I say. That's all. Declan, I'm going to hang up now. Don't you dare! I set the phone down. Not on the desk. I set it face down, gently, and I listen to her voice coming through the speaker for 3 more seconds, and then I press end. The room is very quiet. I sit for a moment with the specific weight of that silence. The sound of a marriage ending. Not with a confrontation, not with tears, but with a phone placed face down on a desk and a call ended mid-sentence. There's something almost administrative about it. Something that would have felt cold to me 3 years ago and now feels like the only honest thing available. I open the Callaway file. Navigate to the Sequence tab. Every node is checked. I close the laptop. The soft double click of the latch catching is the cleanest sound I've heard in 14 months. The farmer's market happens Saturday morning, exactly as I knew it would. Calder has been on administrative leave for 4 days. His licensing inquiry is open. His insurance claim is filed. His mother isn't speaking to him. His marriage, and yes, I knew because Pruitt knew that Calder was married to a woman named Felicia, who had been kept as carefully in the dark as I had been, is in whatever state it's in, which is not my calculation to run. He's a man with nothing left to lose, which makes him predictable in the specific way that dangerous things are predictable. I knew he'd come for me. I knew he'd choose a public space because men like Calder believe witnesses are their protection. They don't understand that witnesses are documentation. I told Pruitt to be at the Callaway Square Farmers Market by 7 a.m. I run the same route every Saturday morning. I don't change it. I won't change it for Calder Briggs. He's waiting near the flower stall at the east entrance. I see him from 40 yards out. He's in a fleece jacket, hands in his pockets, watching the path. He hasn't shaved in 4 days. He looks like a man rehearsing a confrontation in his head. I keep my pace. Steady. I don't run, don't slow, don't alter my line. He falls in beside me when I'm 10 feet from him. Declan, I need to talk to you. I'm running. Stop. I need you to stop. I'm running, Calder. He grabs my arm. I pull it free without breaking stride. He steps in front of me, physically plants himself on the path, hands up, and I stop because the alternative is contact. And contact is not what I want documented this morning. You want to talk, I say. Talk. Withdraw the ethics report. Withdraw it and we can work something out on the kids. There's nothing to work out. The petition is filed. The report is filed. The sequence is complete. You're ruining my life. You sent me a text at 11:47 p.m. that said, "She's mine now. You should know." You ruined your own life. I just documented it. He shoves me. Both hands, center of the chest, harder than Vivian's push in the lobby. I take one step back. That's all. Garrison is 15 feet away at the coffee cart. He's been watching since Calder stepped onto the path. He sets down his cup and walks over. "Calder," Garrison says. "Walk away." "Stay out of this, Garrison. Walk away." Calder turns on Garrison and shoves him. One hand, shoulder, hard enough to rock him back. Garrison is 6'2" and spent 3 years working bar security before he owned the bar. He doesn't fall. He takes the step back and steadies. 2 people near the flower stall have their phones out. I can see Pruitt at the edge of my peripheral vision, dash cam in hand. Calder looks around. He sees the phones. He sees Pruitt. He sees Garrison standing steady, and me standing steady, and the entire market watching him be the only person in the scene who has lost control. He leaves. Pruitt has the photos by noon. The shove of Garrison goes into the civil filing by 2 p.m. as a second harassment incident, this one with civilian witnesses and timestamps. Garrison calls me that afternoon. "You knew he'd be there." "I knew he'd be there." "You set him up." "I gave him an opportunity to behave differently," I say. "He chose not to." A pause. "That's a fine line, Declan." "I know." "You okay with where you're standing on it?" I think about it honestly. I'm okay with the outcome. I'm still deciding about the line. "That's the right answer," Garrison says. "That's the only honest answer." He hangs up. I sit with it. The line question is real. I knew Calder would come. I knew he'd be volatile. I positioned Pruitt and I ran my regular route and I let the situation develop. Is that documentation or is that a trap? I've been asking myself that since Saturday morning, and I don't have a clean answer. What I have is this. Garrison wasn't hurt. The witnesses were real. The shove happened because Calder chose to shove, not because I made him. I didn't fabricate anything. I created the conditions where the truth could be visible. I write in the Callaway notes. Farmers Market. CB escalated as predicted. GH witness, unplanned. CB shove documented. Question. Setup versus documentation. Answer. Pending. I leave it pending. Some things should stay that way. The custody hearing is scheduled for a Thursday, 6 weeks out. Lena Hargrove calls me the Tuesday before to tell me that Vivian's attorney has reviewed Exhibit C and is recommending she not contest the DNA evidence. What does that mean practically, I ask. It means the custody arrangement will proceed on the terms you've proposed. Primary physical custody with you. Scheduled visitation for her. The DNA doesn't strip her of parental rights. Nothing does that except conduct toward the children, and there's no evidence of that. But it does remove any argument that you have a lesser claim. The children stay with me. The children stay with you. I'm quiet for a moment. And the financial settlement? Her attorney's asking for the house. The house is in my name. Premarital asset documented. She gets the equity in the joint account, the furnishings she wants, and the SUV. That's the offer. It doesn't move. I'll convey it. The offer doesn't move. Vivian's attorney calls back at 3 p.m. She accepts. I sit at my desk for a moment after Lena calls with the confirmation. The house at 32 Callaway Drive is mine. The children stay with me. The sequence is complete. I open the Callaway file one last time. Navigate to the Sequence tab. Read through every node. Everyone is checked. I close the file, then I delete it. Not archive, delete. The court has the evidence package. Pruitt has the originals. I don't need the working file anymore. The soft double click of the laptop closing is the same sound it always is. I go upstairs. It's 7:30 in the evening. Marin is at her desk doing homework. She's working on a map project, coloring in countries with careful precision. Cole is on the floor of his room building something with blocks, a structure that has no obvious purpose, but which he is constructing with absolute seriousness. I stand in the hallway between their two rooms. Marin looks up. Dad, what's for dinner? What do you want? She thinks about it. Pasta. Pasta it is. Cole doesn't look up from his blocks, but he says, with the butter kind? Not the red kind. Butter kind, I confirm. I go downstairs and make pasta. We eat at the kitchen table, the same table where the ceramic bowl shattered 2 weeks ago. I'd replaced the bowl with a blue one from the cabinet above the refrigerator. Marin had noticed and said she liked the blue one better. Cole had agreed, with the authority of a 7-year-old, who has strong opinions about dishware. The blue bowl is on the counter now, holding the car keys. We eat. Marin tells me about the map project. Cole tells me about a book he's reading about a dog who goes on adventures. I ask questions. I listen to the answers. This is what I've been protecting. Not the house, not the financial settlement, not the evidence package or the ethics report or the sequence of nodes. This. 2 kids at a table telling me about their days. This is the resource I was managing. This is what has a dollar value I can calculate to 4 decimal places. And the dollar value is everything I have. After dinner, I do the dishes. The kids do homework. I read to Cole, the dog book, 3 chapters. I sit with Marin while she finishes the map, helping her find the right shade of green for the landlocked countries. At 9:15, both kids are in bed. I go to the office, sit in the chair. The monitors are dark. I don't turn them on. I pick up my phone. Open singletune.com. The values assessment is 43 questions. The first one is, what do you believe about people? Not what do you want, not what are you looking for. What do you believe about people as a starting condition? I read it for a long time. I don't answer it tonight. I'm not ready to answer it tonight, and I know the difference between not ready and not willing. I'm not willing to answer it from inside this specific weight, this specific aftermath. I want to answer it from somewhere cleaner, somewhere where the Callaway file has been deleted long enough that it's not the first thing I think about when someone asks me what I believe. But I save the page, bookmark it. That's enough for tonight. The morning of the walkout, I'm up at 5:30. The kids are still asleep. I make coffee, drink it standing at the kitchen window, watching the backyard in the early light, the oak tree, the tire swing Cole had asked for 2 summers ago, the flower bed that Vivian planted and I've been maintaining because someone has to. Vivian had stayed in the house through the 2-week settlement period, sleeping in the guest room, moving through the house like someone who has been told to vacate a space they no longer own. She's been quiet. Not the quiet of grief, the quiet of someone calculating their next move and finding that the board has been cleared. She comes downstairs at 6. She's already dressed. 2 suitcases in the hallway. She'd packed them the night before. I'm at the counter. She goes to the coffee maker. We stand in the same kitchen in silence. The movers come at 10, she says. I know. She pours her coffee, doesn't look at me. The kids, the custody schedule starts next week. The first weekend is yours. She nods. She adjusts her earring once, then again. The habit I've watched for 14 months. The one that means she's about to say something she's been rehearsing. I didn't think it would end like this, she says. I look at her. I wait. I thought I don't know, fight for it. Fight for me. I did fight for it, I say. For 3 years, I fought for it. You just weren't watching. She's quiet. The fighting looked like coming home every night, I say. Staying, reading to the kids, maintaining the house, not leaving when I stopped being happy here, because I thought the right thing was to stay and work on it. That was the fight. You didn't recognize it because it wasn't loud. She looks at her coffee cup. I'm not angry at you, Vivian, I say, and I mean it. The anger burned off somewhere in the second week. somewhere between the custody petition and the deleted Callaway file. What's left isn't warmth, but it isn't heat either. It's something more like clarity, the specific relief of a problem correctly identified and correctly resolved. I'm not angry, I'm done. She picks up her purse, leaves her coffee cup on the counter, half full. She goes to the front door, opens it. I pick up my keys from the blue bowl, follow her out. The morning is cold, the specific cold of early autumn, the kind that puts a quality of stillness into the air and makes sounds carry. Patrice Odom is on her porch again, coffee in hand, watching the way she watched me 6 weeks ago. I see her see me. I nod once. Vivian goes to her SUV, loads the 2 suitcases, gets in. I go to my car, start the engine. The steering wheel is cold under my hands, the cold that goes into the palms and stays there. The same cold it was 6 weeks ago when I sat in the same car at 10 and 2 and waited for the sequence to begin. The sequence is complete now. I watch Vivian's SUV back out of the driveway. She pulls to the street. She stops. For a moment, she just sits there, and I understand what she's doing. She's looking at the house one last time. The cream siding, the flower bed, the tire swing visible in the backyard over the fence line. Then she pulls forward and drives away. I sit in the driveway for a moment, engine running, hands at 10 and 2. Patrice is still on her porch. The neighborhood is waking up around me. A garage door opening 2 houses down, a dog being walked on the far sidewalk. The particular morning sound of a street that has been watching this story for 6 weeks and is now watching its last page. I think about Marin upstairs, still asleep, her map project on the desk, with the landlocked countries carefully colored in. I think about Cole and his blocks and the structure he's been building that has no obvious purpose, but which he is building with absolute seriousness. I think about Dorothea Briggs saying, "The man who reads them to sleep every night is their father." I think about 43 questions. And the first one, what do you believe about people? I think I'm ready to answer that now. Not today, but soon. I put the car in reverse. I back out of the driveway at 32 Callaway Drive slowly, the way you leave a place you intend to return to, because I am returning to it tonight, with pasta and homework and 2 kids who need their father to be the stillest man in the room. Patrice raises her coffee cup at me as I pass. I raise 2 fingers off the wheel. Then I drive.